Hi, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. How are you guys? How's everything? You must be wondering how come right now at this point of time? Well, I just found some time, so I thought, okay, let me make some quick video. Okay, the thing is, I have been asked this question a lot lately, especially like 4, 5, I don't know, 6 or 7 people, I believe. They asked me this question that how come your images are black and white images are so much stand out among the rest, like they are also doing the black and white photography, but their images are not that much impacting. Well, there are several reasons, and just in this quick video, I'd like to enlist all of them and try to segregate them to make you understand why my images, black and white images, turn out to be different. And first of all, let me clear you one thing: I try to edit them as minimum as possible because I want to keep everything there in the raw file right from the beginning. So if if micro contrast is there, so I don't have to add it in the post processing. If it's not been captured properly at the first place because I used the wrong gear, then definitely it's not going to be there even in post processing. So the whole idea right now is to give you that input, share with you the input, like the parameters or the checklist that I do when it comes to black and white. First of all, black and white is all about contrast. Contrast is I shoot raw in black and white most of the time. Whenever I choose to shoot raw, I prefer to typically I shoot raw plus raw if I have 2 card slots in the camera. If I have 1 card slot, then I shoot raw plus JPEG. If I have 2 card slots, then I shoot raw plus raw. This is how I usually do. So let's suppose I have only 1 card slot. Okay, so I always shoot raw plus JPEG. Of course, I have bigger capacity memory card, so I can have more room for the JPEG. Whenever I choose monochrome, I switch to monochrome color profile in camera. I increase the contrast. I increase the sharpness a little, 1 point only, not all the way up, only 1 point. That's it. So once I done that, when it comes to contrast, I also not increasing contrast all the way. I keep it like whatever the settings are there in the middle, I increase like 50% or 60% from there. That's it. Sharpness only 1 point. That's it. And then I start shooting raw plus JPEG. Now that sounds really weird, but this is my experience when it comes to cameras. Here you have to believe, and until unless you experience by yourself. I mean, you have to go with my words right now if whatever I'm going to tell you next. But if you don't agree with me, which obviously many of you won't, which is completely fine, but I want you to try it. Seriously, I want you to try what I'm going to say next. When it comes to gear, first I'm going to talk about cameras. When it comes to cameras, I purposely go to shoot with D700. Why? Reason is very simple. The black and white tones that I get from D700 sensor is I have never experienced. Frankly, it gives you a very broad range of monochromatic tones when it comes to black and white. You will see the gray, the different tone of gray which you can get from D700, like mind blowing. Seriously, you shoot this from 12 megapixel D700. Now there is another camera D3s. D3 is also, but you will not going to get the same tones from both of these cameras. Why? I'm talking about D3 and D3s. both are 12 megapixel, and here is D700 12 megapixel, same sensor, D700, D3, D3s, all same sensor but with different SNR firmware, different software. So basically software changes the tone. That's the basic thing, and you have to understand that and you have to experience it. Once you start using different machines, then you will able to experience it more clearly. The SNR firmware, the software inside D700, it basically gives you the latitude to capture more tones. It's able to produce more tones of gray and embed in the CF card. That's how it is. I have used D800, D800E. D800E was good when it comes to black and white, but not like D700. D700 is outclassed when it comes to black and white tones. And then D700, D800, D800E, D850. The second camera which I love to shoot black and white is D850. No doubt. I like for some reason again the D850 SNR firmware and the BSI sensor was able to produce near quality like D700, the output for raw files. Of course it gives you a lot of dynamic range, more than D700. You can play a lot with D850 files, where you can bring up the shadows, you can reduce the highlights in D850 more than D700. I can assure you, it's proven. But here's the thing, when you shoot at the right exposure, when you see the raw files in the full screen, and you're like, man, it's D700 somehow looks more punchy. Why is that? This is something you can only experience once you're able to see. The reason is somehow D700 is able to reproduce the low level intertonal details, so like low level signal which is not able to reproduce by the other cameras. I use D4S, no, not for black and white. D3S, no. D4S, D3S, no. D800, no. D800E, yeah, it was better. D850, much better. Now I'm using the Z6. Z6 is good when it comes to black and white. Somehow Z6 is able to render white area better, just like D700. But when it comes to black, it's still not able to. D700 gives you a lot of latitude and to capture from white tones all the way to the black tones. Z6 on right now, it captures a different tone of white very firmly, very easily, no question about that. But black area, not so good. This is where the dynamic range of Z6 is handy, because by playing with the shadows and the black sliders in the Lightroom or Photoshop, you can able to produce the results for just like D700. So that's all about the camera. Now definitely some of you say, what about D750, what about D610, what about Z7? None of these cameras are able to produce the quality black and white images which I have experienced from D700. Then the number second is D850, the third is Z6. I don't have D850, but I have experienced it. It really gives you the latitude to play with the files. Of course you can play with the files with D750, but when you're able to apply the same setting, same highlight and contrast and shadow recovery and all those sliders that you played for D700, you copy paste those on D750, you copy paste those on the other raw files. When you take the output from all these three, it's going to be a hell of a difference. You can clearly see that D700 images somehow is going to be popping out. I'm just sharing with you my experience. This is the way it is. Now the cameras are done. Now comes to the Lenses. Okay, this is something really basic. You can go and verify from anybody. Maybe you don't go with me when it comes to cameras, which is fine. But when it comes to lenses, what I'm going to say you next is 100% valid. There is no question. And there's if you want to capture the best black and white punchy images right from the camera without going into the post processing and stuff, I suggest you only um, there are just two basic rules when it comes to lenses. First, it should be prime. The second, it must have as minimum number of glass elements inside it. Yep, let me repeat. First, it should be prime. Second, it must have less number of glass element as much as you can find. Lenses with 4 glass elements or 5 glass elements or up to 6 glass elements, they are able to produce images so nice, so kind of a sexy, which you will like, damn, what the hell is this? I can like I have lenses on my fingertips, 105 or 1.8 AIS. You go with that lens, it will melt your heart. 55 f3.5 AIS macro lens from Nikon, 105 1.8 AIS from Nikon, 85 1.8 D type, 85 1.4 D type, 105 f2.5 AIS, 135 f2 AIS. Now that lens 135 f2 AIS have massive chromatic aberration. Like people like, what the hell is this? So much pinky shade. It when you're going to take color images, it's going to render image so horrible. But when you're going to take the same images from the black and white, like monochromatic profile, use the same lens, that lens do magic. Literally magic. I'm not kidding. Then 135 f2 AIS, 105. Oh, the king of bokeh. 105 f2 DC. That's autofocus lens. So 105 f2 DC is my second most favorite lens for portrait. Second. The first one is 105 f1.8 AIS. Unfortunately, that's a manual focus lens. So I recommend 105 f2 DC for autofocus. 105 f2.5 also AIS, also manual focus. 85 1.8 D type autofocus. 85 1.4 D type autofocus. 50 1.8 D type, 51.4 D type. All the D type lenses are going to produce rich, creamy, with creamy bokeh, rich contrast images. There is one image, yeah, of course, there is one 85 or 1.8 auto SC, HS, it's SH or SC something, auto. It was a manual focus lens. Damn, that lens! I was like, my legs were shivering, my hands were shivering when I literally shot from that lens. 85 1.8. Hasham Bhai basically introduced me to that lens, and that lens also have is 50mm 1.8 manual focus SC auto 51.8. That lens is also there, so I love that lens. Those two lenses. You take the black and white shot from those lenses and like, wow, damn. 200 f4 AIS and Voigtlander. Oh my god, I forgot about the Voigtlander. 58mm f1.4 from Voigtlander. That lens is not sharp. like 105 1.8 AIS. That lens is not sharp. 58 1.4 Voigtlander, but the tones that you will get from that lens when you're going to shoot black and white, it will melt your heart, guarantee. Amazing lens. Okay, there is one lens, 35 f2 D type from Nikon. That lens, that's the funny thing about that lens. That lens is so cheap, and it is 35 f2 D type. Now that lens is basically has a special characteristic. What it is, you take that lens, you put on any camera like D700 or D750, which can do the autofocus of all the screw drive lenses. It's f2, 35mm f2. You take that lens, and that lens is now one of the very few lenses which can close focus more than any other 35mm out there. So what exactly happening is, because it can kind of a pseudo macro type of shot you can take from that lens, you can go really close to the subject and get focus locked. So it's f2 lens, but when you go close to the subject, it can able to produce f1.4 type of bokeh, because you are shooting close. When you reduce the distance, you get much more blur. So it's f2 lens, but it's still able to produce f1.4 bokeh, because it can shoot in less close and less proximity, less distance, between the camera and the subject. 35 f2 D type, and what else? 200 f4. By the way, you must be wondering, what about the 72-200 or 85 1.4 G type, 85 1.8 G type. I have shot with both 7200. 7200 images flat, didn't render well. The black and white was not appealing. From 72-200 VR2. 85 1.4, I don't like that lens. I like 85 1.8. It's sharp, but the problem is I'm not able to have those tones which I was having from the other 85 1.8 D type or 1.4 D type. There is one more 85mm, which is a 85mm from Nikon, 85mm f2 AIS. Of course, the manual focus, less glass elements, able to produce more tones. So its formula is simple. All the AIS lenses or D type lenses has less number of glass, able to produce more bokeh, more blah 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 blah. Okay. So that's my lens collection and the way I go. I have quite a lot of lenses. I shot black and white, and all those lenses now I have 3-4 lenses I have shortlisted, which I'm shooting black and white, which is 105 1.8 AIS, 105 f2 DC with D700, of course. And now here is the last part: medium format. Now medium format, it's total different game, because medium format cameras gives you a lot of space to play with the tones. Not lot, a lot. This is why they are medium format, because it gives you more latitude to play with the tones. Now I was playing with the GFX 50R raw files, and I used Pentax 100mm f2.4 lens. That lens is radioactive, and that lens is basically made for 6x7 format. 6x7 format is basically much larger than full frame. It's basically twice the size of one full frame. So the diagonal of full frame sensor, it's double. You keep the double, like 1 2 3 4 full frame. So one full frame, then another full frame. So it covers the whole full frame. If you stack them like this, full frame sensor, The 6x7 sensor basically covers that much area. So that lens is basically covers for 6x7 format, which is bigger than GFX medium format from Fujifilm. So I use that lens on GFX 50R, and that's how I shot the models which I uploaded last night. And if you zoom in 100%, try to get the close the details that you can see, the tones that you can see. To be very honest, I start editing, I finish in 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes. I believe in 2 or 3 minutes. I finish editing that image. That's it. Because that image was right from the camera, was so perfect. I was like, okay, I use the stamping tool, I just clear a few things on the face. That's it. 2 minutes, literally. I didn't even apply the highlights and separate total details over the hair or the body. No, I didn't do anything. I just clear the few blemishes on the skin in literally 2 minutes, and I uploaded the image. My image was ready. So that's how I do my black and white. My always intention to capture the image right from the camera, black and white, and upload. Khalas, no time. The more time you are spending in post-processing, it means that it shows your photography skill. It's inversely proportional. I hope that I made it abundantly clear. The more time you spend on post-processing, it means that your photography skills are not good. If you are spending less time on post-processing, it means that your photography skills are quite good. So it's inversely proportional, and it applies all. Of course, many of you guys not gonna agree and gonna say blah blah blah. Well, we need blah. We need customer demand. Customer. Well, you made the customer requirement. Customer never come up with their own requirement. You made up the market like this by saying as a customer requirement. That's how customer knows what his requirement. Because you made the requirement in the market by saying. So customer know. Before that, nobody cares. Nobody cares about getting slimmer, having face paint with skin retouching. Come on. It's not rocket science. Anyways, so that was a quick sum up for how I shoot black and white and what kind of tools I'm using. I will try to show you someday those tools so you can choose your gear. By the way, when it comes to crop sensor, because mostly I talk about the full frame gears, when it comes to crop sensor, I never experienced anything good from the crop sensor because of the SNR firmware that I got. Yeah, XT20 was good from Fujifilm, but still I'm having a taste of D700 in my mouth, so I'm not able to. That XT20 was not able to please me all the way, even though that was a very good camera for monochrome with the kit lens with the 56.1.2. Very good lens, very sharp lens. So yeah, that's it. I'll talk about someday about the crop sensor cameras or any other format other than full frame. So that's how I shoot black and white. That's it, guys. I'll catch you guys some other time. Hope you like this video. I can upload it on YouTube soon. So we'll see in the next YouTube channel. Take care. Ciao.